Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another weekly fighting roundup. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So, of course, starting off with the boxing news, and a sad bit of news to start off with, being that Willie Lemond has passed away, and it's a tragedy really. He was going to fight within the next month or so, and yeah, it's really sad to see. He was a boxing legend and had some amazing fights, and yeah, his life was definitely cut too soon. My thoughts go out to his family and anybody who knew him personally, and I thought I'd mention it. Absolute legend, and may he rest in peace. But to move on, Beterbiev versus Bivol, Ball versus Ford, Dubois versus Hrgovic, Shiraz versus Williams, Hutchinson versus Richards, and Wilder versus Zhang will fight June 1st. That's the 5v5 plus the Bivol Beterbiev. It's just so mad to me still that we've been able to get all these fights happening, and it's taken so long, especially the Bivol Beterbiev one, and to actually now be having it, and it to just have happened so easily seemingly now. It's so crazy. Plus this 5v5, which is amazing as well. Obviously I'm going to do a prediction for it, but if I'm looking and I'm picking who I think's going to win out of the two, obviously there's a point scoring system with the captains and stuff, but I could be favouring possibly more towards Queensbury. I know a lot of people aren't, but I could possibly be favouring more towards them. Obviously, I know that there's like double points for captain wins and things like that, so that might change things. But nonetheless, if you're just going off base wins, then I could be favouring more towards Queensbury. Moving on, Wilder has also signed with Matchroom, which is just crazy. Like I said, nobody ever really thought that would happen, and now it obviously has. Edwards versus Ward, Jones versus Howells, and Shepherd versus Ellis will fight to May 11th. Denny versus Cash, Crocker versus Walker, Furlong versus Flynn, and Ryan versus Dolan will fight to June 22nd. Great card that. Denny versus Cash is a great European fight, and I'm very excited. Hopefully, I'll be in attendance for that. We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, it's a great fight. Plus, Crocker versus Walker, Furlong versus Flynn, Ryan versus Dolan, they're all great fights as well, and yeah, so like I say, going to be a great card. Taylor will rematch Serrano July 20th. That's on the Tyson Paul undercard. To be completely honest, I mean, they were talking about it going to the Sophia or something like that. I didn't ever think it would go to that venue as a first venue to have a sporting event, but it's a huge fight. I'm so surprised that it is on the undercard. Obviously, Paul Tyson is branded as a huge fight, but that fight alone could have gone back to Madison Square Garden and sold out by itself as a main event, and it probably deserved to, in my opinion. But at least we're getting to see it. McCann is set to rematch Baluta in July. Clark will fight April 27th. Great to see Steve Clark's move had on the channel being active. Parr, Darrigan, and Amelia have signed with No Limits Boxing. Zayas versus TXera. Tucker, Johnson, Falcon, and Carrington versus Vivas will fight June 8th. Prograis has called out Smith to fight in 2025. It seems like he's just manifesting it to happen, but Knowlton Smith versus Prograis in 2025 sounds like a great fight to me. Ryan and Cameron have been going back and forth. That's another great fight, which I'd love to see. Same with Davis and Stevenson, who's also been going back and forth. Sharp, Barney Smith, Berardi, Ali, Fletcher, and Fale will fight May 11th. Crawford versus Madrimov and Ruiz Jr. in talks to fight August 3rd. That's an interesting fight. It's come out of nowhere. I think they are just trying to actually make a fight for Crawford at the moment, and as of recent, to be fair, just as of today, there's been talks from Turkey Al Sheikh about Crawford fighting Canelo or fighting Boots, and so they're also two huge fights, but I would still be interested in the Madrimov one, and if that is to keep him active and then possibly him fight a bigger fight in December, that's something I'm more than interested in. Plus Ruiz Jr. making a return. It's been so long now. Obviously he's kind of made himself obvious that he has kind of overpriced himself in his career, and if anybody's going to be able to bring him and make him fight, it'd be Turkey Al Sheikh. But it seems like it's going to be in the first event that he's going to be working in America for. Not entirely sure, but it might be. Valdez is in talks to fight to Foster. Skull will fight May 4th. Dukadzian will fight Scarf May 17th. Great to see Scarf getting this world title eliminator fight. Garcia came in overweight versus Haney. We're going to talk a bit more about that fight in just a moment, but obviously he did come in overweight. Dominguez is set to fight Rios June 8th. Yu Ho Tawa won by unanimous decision versus Arana. Yang won via TKO in round 6 versus Ogden. Hill won via TKO in round 6 versus Weber. Ivic won, drew versus Lind. Taylor won via unanimous decision versus O'Shea to remain Australian welterweight champion. Brook versus Van Zant and Bell versus Ham will fight May 25th. Farmer is set to fight Matisse May 24th. Stanionis versus Miastri will fight May 4th. Davis versus Martin and Benavides versus Vosdik will fight June 15th. They have officially announced that card now, which is a great 2 fights there. Lugo won via TKO in round 1 versus Lartigue. Lopez won by KO in round 1 versus Mora. Veron won by unanimous decision versus Astorga. Adams won by KO in round 3 versus Villarreal. Lingo won via TKO in round 6 versus Scobie. Malia won via TKO in round 2 versus Hall to become IBO Ocean Orient welterweight champion. Benito won via KO in round 2 versus Lorenzo. Mejia won via KO in round 1 versus Mondala. Mosquera won via unanimous decision versus Mondala. Two Mondala, sorry. Silva won via KO in round 3 versus Moskowitz. Barrera won via unanimous decision versus Pena. Medina won via unanimous decision versus Persona. Cibrian won via unanimous decision versus Felix. Sandoval won via unanimous decision versus Rebula. Nadim won via TKO in round 1 versus Banov. Nemhard won via points versus Cook. Stevens won via points versus Busetta. Johnson won via TKO in round 2 versus Feliz. Lambert won via points versus Stoyanov. Fury won via points versus Dovbychenko. King won via TKO in round 1 versus Woods. Bradley won via points versus Antin. Malloy won via points versus Herrera. Hopewell won via unanimous decision versus Rueg to become Commonwealth flyweight champion. Thompson won via KO in round 8 versus Gorgiev to become IBF European and WBO Global middleweight champion. And obviously I want to speak about this card because I had the privilege to speak to a lot of the fighters on it. I was at the weigh-in for this card. It was the GBM Sports show and it was a great card. Obviously at a world level people might not know too much about it, but it was a great card to see and another great one put on by GBM Sports. And I suppose to go through it, you start off with Stevens. I'm going to start off talking about. It was an impressive debut. He did what he had to do against an opponent who obviously has been around with a lot of top fighters and has gone on the rounds with them before. And to be fair, Busetta to fight for a debut is a tough fight, and Arlo Stevens, pleasure to speak to him. He did well. Johnson, stoppage victory, he's always impressive, and somebody who had on the channel a little while ago, but always an impressive Sheffield talent. Lambert, solid points display versus Stoyanov, nothing crazy but a solid point showing. Fury, similar kind of fashion, got the points win, did what he had to do. He looked solid, to be fair. He didn't never look struggled or anything like that, and he looked comfortable, and he's always kind of had that in his game, and he's somebody which I'm really excited to just see him back, and I really want him to build himself and rebuild back to a high level, and hopefully we'll see that soon. And it's the start of a return for him, and that's what it was. You kind of never expected it to be a huge KO win or anything like that, but like I say, it was a start of hopefully good things to come in the future. Sad to see Woods lose via stopping round 1. Obviously we spoke to him a while ago now, but nonetheless, fair play to King. Bradley, I liked his points win versus Anton, to be fair. He looked good, he was moving well, he looked confident, and he was picking his shots nicely, and you don't often see that kind of level of confidence, and it's nice to see. It was impressive, and he put on a show. And Malloy, that fight versus Herrera was a great fight, and Malloy, who I've had the pleasure of speaking to a couple of times, but that was a great fight. He came from getting dropped and still managed to get the win in the end, and it's them type of fights which are always so important for fighters at an early point in their career to just be able to build themselves experience facing adversity. I think it is always good for a fighter to face adversity early on, than them to face it further along down in their career and not be able to know how to deal with it quite so well. And yeah, Malloy's dealt with it, and he dealt with it well, and he managed to come back and reset well, and it shows a lot of heart and a lot of character to be able to do that, of course, and he did that beyond well. Hopewell, good unanimous decision versus Rueg. That was an entertaining fight. You kind of always knew that Hopewell was going to bring that entertaining fight, but Rueg looked solid in her own right and put on another proud showing, I suppose it should be for her. And Hopewell now Commonwealth champion. Thompson, good stoppage. Gorgiev was looking like he was causing him problems at times, but Thompson managed to show his strength and managed to show his physical presence and got him out of there in the end in impressive fashion. Moving on, Lavin won by points versus Mamedov. Adams won by points versus Butler. King drew versus Sparta. Scola won by TK in round 4 versus Oliphant. Kane won by KO in round 4 versus Martinez. Junior won via KO in round 4 versus Farias. Turner won via TK in round 5 versus Mendoza to remain WBC International Silver Super Lightweight Champion. Noakes won via unanimous decision versus Mendy to become European Lightweight Champion. And to speak about that card, couple of fights I want to speak about. The Junior stoppage was a good stoppage, Alois Junior, and same with the Turner one. They're both good stoppages. They've branded these fighters really highly, and they have a lot of pressure on their shoulders. So for the fact that they're putting on stoppage performances, that's kind of all I care about. There's very few prospects which I look at really early on and go, wow, they're going to be something crazy. I wouldn't exactly say I'm looking at any kind of ones like this at the moment and thinking that, but when you're putting out stoppage victories and you're winning impressively and you're doing what you have to do, then nonetheless, it doesn't really matter what I think. Like, you're winning, and that's all that matters. And like I say, getting stoppages as well is just giving your fans your money's worth, and that's something which is really important for me and what I really enjoy seeing. And both of them fighters, of course, have done that in impressive fashion. Noakes, so that was a great performance. It really showed a lot. I don't think Mendy was offering loads back, but still, nonetheless, to be able to do that to Mendy and be so dominant, and he just showed such good body work, so good just pressure, physical the whole fight. Pretty much, well, he did just dominate the whole fight, and he looked very comfortable in the process doing it as well. And that really showed a level of class and was something which I was very much questioning of him. And if he could do that, he did that. And the Mark Chamberlain fight now, hopefully, is the next fight. It's a huge fight, I'm sure, with Turki Al Sheikh loving Mark Chamberlain as a fighter. That Noakes Chamberlain fight is a huge fight, which hopefully will be in Saudi and will actually happen. But yeah, hopefully that's the fight next, and if not, then continue progression, because that was a very good performance from Noakes, and he was unfortunate to not get him out of there in the end. Moving on, Habazin won via unanimous decision versus Magyar to become WBA interim and WBC World Welterweight Champion, and I spoke about that fight. I did a prediction for it. I said that Magyar would win. I did also mention though that her accuracy was never really anything impressive. I just thought that she'd probably be able to overwhelm Habazin, but Habazin, from I haven't seen the fight, I haven't been able to find footage of the fight, but I've managed to read up upon it. She seemed to outbox on the back foot a lot of the time and picked her shots nicely. Magyar seemed to be very messy and inaccurate, and that was pretty much a lot of the time. That was what was punishing her, to be able to get countered. And she showed a level of experience there, Habazin, which I mentioned in my predictions she does have. And so fair play to her, congratulations to her, and it'll be interesting to see where her next step in her career is, because like I mentioned, she's not really the youngest of fighters, but she has got a lot of experience. I'm sure it won't be too long until we probably are going to see her on a big stage again. Moving on, Canal won via unanimous decision versus Borgaro. Fulgham won via TK round 12 versus Olivas. Jones won via TK round 6 versus Bumma Yasser. Newman 3 won via TK round 12 versus Robles. Melekuziev won via technical unanimous decision versus Debombe to remain WBA Intercontinental Super Middleweight Champion. Derovianchenko won via unanimous decision versus Alexander. Jimenez won via unanimous decision versus Ramirez to become WBA Interim World Super Flyweight Champion. Barboza Jr. won via split decision versus McCone to remain WBO Intercontinental Super Lightweight Champion. Garcia won via majority decision versus Haney. And to speak about that card, it was pretty much the main focus of this whole week. And I mean, I of course did a prediction for the main event, but to speak about the undercard and some of the fights, the Melekuziev one, it was an interesting one. It was messy. Obviously, it got called a technical unanimous decision. It got called off in the end. They were both dipping their heads in. They were both making it a scrappy fight. It wasn't anything impressive or anything like that, but nonetheless, Melekuziev did more than enough to win. And when it wasn't just head clashes, when it wasn't just being head clashes, Melekuziev was the better at the two of the work. But I don't think that's really shown too much at a high level of his ability. Derevianchenko, great to see him fight. He is, when he wants to be, an amazing fighter, and he just sometimes can be outclassed a bit. But like I say, at that level, he's more than capable, and he did put on a good display. Jimenez, Ramirez, he has the movement, I think, there to be able to win them type of fights, and Jimenez was so much slower and really didn't have the movement at all, and did struggle at times to be able to, actually stop him when he was moving Ramirez, but he just let him get into a fight and really let him get a flow and really let him get a rhythm going, and he just got completely drawn into a fight, which you see often, and yeah, Jimenez, congratulations to him, again getting an upset win. I believe it was Sandoval last time, and getting another upset win now, and Ramirez, that hype behind him, I suppose, to an extent, has now dropped off quite considerably. The Barboza Jr. McComb fight, that was crazy. I never call robbery or anything like that. I think every fighter that wins, obviously judging is something which is very much, it's a personal thing. It's what the judges see. Obviously, a lot of people can have different opinions, and people often disagree with judges, and you see it quite regularly. I still give Barboza Jr. credit for being able to fight the way he fought and be able to win rounds, and still looked alright at times. But McComb, I'm a fan of Barboza Jr., but McComb, in my opinion, from what I saw, did enough to win that fight. Like I say, I'm not going to call it a robbery or anything because I wasn't the judge. It's not my job or anything like that. I'm not trained to do that. But from what I've seen, McComb did enough to win that one, and he was boxing very well off the back foot, picking shots very nicely, keeping him at a range and keeping them straight shots consistently out, and he was doing very good, and it was a very good showing from him. And quite often we see these American fighters maybe overlooking these British level opponents, well, not British level but British opponents, and it might have been the case here again. And McComb, credit to him, he's made himself proud and really done a lot, and I doubt if they appeal it, then it's going to come back any different kind of score. But it wouldn't surprise me if we possibly see a rematch. If not, then it might be similar to what's happened with John Ryder and Maxi Hughes, where they get another opportunity at a big time world level fight, which McComb more than deserves. And in my opinion, if you compare Ryder and Maxi Hughes, they were both at the much latter stage of their career, but McComb is still in a very good position in his career, and so if he does end up fighting another world level type fighter, then I think he probably will be able to hold his own again, and so it will be very interesting to see where his next progression goes on his career. But like I say, it was unfortunate to see him not get the win. Haney Garcia, though, the whole build up was mental. Garcia, I really don't like what happened with the weight thing and the way he dealt with it, and just the disrespect that he showed towards it. I think the whole thing of making weight is something that every fighter has to do. A lot of fighters pretty much kill themselves to be able to do it, and for him to just show so little care and so little remorse, and I don't know, even if he wasn't drinking a beer or if it was just something else in his drink or whatever, but just to do that. Obviously, it's Ryan Garcia. There's a lot of things going on with him always, but yeah, it just didn't sit right with me. And you can talk about possibly that added weight being an actual factor as to why he could drop Haney quite easily with shots in close and with shots which he didn't fully load up on a lot of them. But he still put out a good performance, a very good performance. He was landing that left hook very nicely, and Haney seemed to struggle in close with him a lot of the time. Haney won rounds and reset well and showed a real kind of warrior's heart, which a lot of people weren't too sure if he actually had. But nonetheless, it's a crazy boxing world that we live in. Garcia to be able to do that, and apparently he's not even, the preparations weren't anywhere near as good as what they should have been, and he still managed to get the win nonetheless at a world level, which is, like I say, it's crazy to me. And there's a lot of talks of where he goes on to now and what the progression is, but for the moment he's just got to sit back and enjoy, I think, what he's done, and it seems like he is going to do that, and he is doing that. But credit to him, congratulations to him. I got my prediction wrong. I'll put my hands up and say I didn't think he would be able to look quite as good as he did and be able to fight with just such of a mindset, which was just like, fuck it, let's do it. And that's the mindset which I respect a lot. And so yeah, credit to him to be able to get the win. Obviously, Haney will now remain WBC super lightweight champion. because obviously Garcia missed weight. Garcia is also going to move up to welterweight next, and so yeah, there's talks about him fighting Ennis and people like that, and so we'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of talks around who he could fight next, and so there's only really one way to find out. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's not till like December, November time that we actually do end up seeing him fight again. Moving on now to the MMA news. There's not too much news, mainly just dates this week. But Elliott will fight Tara May 18th. Hall is set to fight Holder. Rodtang will fight Puric June 7th. That's amazing. I love seeing Rodtang whenever he fights, and I'm excited to see that. Pereira will fight Portiera May 4th. Park will fight Lima June 1st. Paul has called out Diaz and Masvidal in MMA after their fight. I thought I'd mention it. Hill will fight Roundtree June 29th. I think that is a great fight. I'm quite interested in Roundtree as a fighter, and credit to Hill just wanting to get straight back into the octagon again and just kind of, obviously we're going to have to see how the knockout played a factor, but credit to him. Rosas Jr. will fight Turkios June 8th, and Rockhold will via KO in round 3 versus Schilling. I thought I'd mention it. It was in Karate 45 or whatever it's called. I can't remember what the actual organisation is called. It's not one which I'm too clued up on, but Rockhold managed to actually get a win in it, and it was quite an impressive knockout from what I saw, and nonetheless, I thought it was interesting. But yeah, that's it for today's video. I hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did indeed like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.